National Report Court is back in session for today's case. We bring you to San Francisco, California. Live look here, courtesy of EarthCam. Good morning to you, California. We show you this because California has filed a lawsuit against some of the world's largest oil and gas companies, including ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, and BP.
Yeah, it states the claims they deceived the public about the risks of fossil fuels and caused billions of dollars in damage to communities and the environment. Again, California, that lawsuit, that's what it's saying. So taking up the case for National Report Court today, Andrew Lieb. He's an attorney and legal political analyst. Amanda Mackey is an attorney and Republican strategist. So for the purposes of the segment, if you don't mind, Andrew, represent the state of California. Amanda, if you don't mind, please represent the oil companies for this purpose here. So let's start with California Governor Gavin Newsom. He said this in a statement, quote, "For more than 50 years, Big Oil has been lying to us, covering up the fact that they've long known how dangerous the fossil fuels they produce are for our planet. California taxpayers shouldn't have to foot the bill." Andrew, talk to us about this. How strong of a case is this in terms of where California is coming from?
Sean, it couldn't be stronger where we're coming from here. We have 135 pages detailing this fraud. That's what this is. It's a disinformation campaign. You know, all these people, they say climate change isn't real. Fossil fuels don't hurt the environment. Well, you know why? Because Big Oil has spent billions of dollars, and they've been disseminating false statements. They've been disseminating media campaigns to manipulate us in the public to believe false data. From pages 35 to 51 of our complaint, we detail their own studies starting in 1954, where they knew this was a problem, and now they're trying to make the public, you and I, foot the bill for their disinformation. These people reap their pockets, and now they want us to pay for it. California's done with that. We are going to get damages, and most importantly, we're going to stop the continuation of a disinformation campaign, Sean.
Well, Chevron has a much different perspective. Andrew, thank you very much for making the initial argument here. Here's the response from a spokesperson. They write, "Climate change is a global problem that requires a coordinated international policy response, not piecemeal litigation for the benefit of lawyers and politicians. California has long been a leading promoter of oil and gas development. Its local courts have no constructive or constitutionally permissible role in crafting global energy policy." Amanda, now it's your turn. What's the defense here?
Well, America can't be the whipping boy for the rest of the world. China exceeds the carbon emissions of all the developed countries combined. So if we're going to be fair about this, to Chevron's point, it's a global problem that requires a global solution, not a piecemeal approach of a city-by-city lawsuit, state-by-state lawsuit against the oil companies, so that California, that is broke and poorly mismanaged financially, can fill its coffers through oil companies. That's not the way that it works. And so what's really important here is to pin the blame really on the countries that deserve the most blame and not target California. If you want to talk about California taxpayers having to, foot the bill, look at the gas bills that they're having to pay every time they go to the pump. They pay the highest prices for gas in the nation. And the California administration of Gavin Newsom wants to make it even more trying on them.
Yeah, $5.69 on average a gallon there in the state of California. The lawsuit also accusing all 5 oil companies of lying about their commitment and efforts to transition to cleaner energy. It alleges they're promoting fossil fuels even though they're aware of the devastating consequences it would cause the environment. So, Andrew, back to your point, you kind of touched on that, but how does that play into the argument?
It just keeps going with the word disinformation. That's what it is, disinformation campaign. And California is one of the top 5, I think we're number 3 now, largest economies in the world. This isn't just a state. This is a leader, a global leader. And California would not like to go it alone. They don't want to do it piecemeal. They want all the countries, all the states to be doing something about this disinformation. It's not that they are not saying what they want. It's not that the companies, these oil companies are making their point. It's that they've actively known for over 70 years that they're contributing to a problem, and they've manipulated you and I. Manipulated. We're being fooled. And now they want people, you mentioned $5 plus for gas. You know why it's so expensive? Because they've been manipulating us, and we want damages to be able to clean this up. It shouldn't come out of California's pocket. That's exactly right. Disinformation needs to stop, and we need to put them in check.
Amanda, could you respond to that direct claim here, those allegations of deception and that these companies knew about it for years and they weren't transparent with their consumers?
Well, the fossil fuel industry has to exist. And, California is wanting to put them out. They don't want to see combustible engine cars anymore. They want to see electric cars. We here in Florida just experienced a hurricane, and one of the biggest emergencies of the hurricane happened to be these battery-operated cars and the dangers that they present. Furthermore, many Americans cannot afford electric vehicles. And so this misnomer, this misconception that Californians and the climate change proponents have is that everyone should be driving electric vehicles. How do we expect to fly planes or drive regular cars that average Americans can afford if we don't have gas? The United States has done everything. They are the ones that are leading the charge on this. Yet you look at other developing countries that aren't doing anything and no one's going after them. This is a global problem that requires a global solution, not a piecemeal, not a state by state going after oil companies in America.
All right. Really strong arguments from both sides. If you could stand by, I wanted to welcome in Randy Zellen. He's been listening to both arguments here. Randy wanted to weigh in, playing judge and jury. Where do you land on this one?
Well, I think one of the difficulties, and because we all recognize climate change, it's who we put the blame on and what the solution is. I walked out of my apartment yesterday. I was knee-deep in the protesting. But what concerns me from the standpoint of the Attorney General's office, clients tend to rein in the lawyers, particularly when the bills start coming in. When the attorneys general, they don't have a client that they have to answer to in terms of the cost. I wonder what the taxpayers of California would feel when they start seeing their tax bills going up, because who's paying for all of the resources to bring these litigations? To me, this should be dumped into the lap of the federal government. I would dismiss this charge and these counts based upon the fact this should be the federal government stepping in. And by the way, we're missing indispensable parties like China and like India, who really should be the defendants here.
All right. Very interesting analysis. Our thanks to Andrew, Amanda, and Randy. With that, National Report Court is adjourned.